My daughter laughed when I gifted her old jewelry. She didn't know it was worth $500,000, and I silently watched her auction it off for $40. Mom, is this fake? Emily sneered, holding the small velvet box like it might stain her skin. God, where did you even find this? In a dumpster? Some antique junk from your maid days? Her voice sliced through the room. Someone laughed nervously. Her husband snorted. Her teenage son tried to hide a smirk behind his soda can. I stood there with my hand still half extended. Inside the box lay the necklace, dull beneath the chandelier light. Something inside me cracked, but I didn't let it show. It was Emily's 35th birthday. The house was packed with guests, friends, co-workers, relatives, even her Pilates instructor. And me, I was just the mother in the corner who brought an old velvet box instead of a designer handbag. Well, it's kind of sweet, Emily continued, tapping the chain with her manicured nail. In a tragic vintage sort of way, maybe I can use it for Halloween. More laughter. I smiled. The kind of smile people learn when they've spent years holding themselves together so they don't fall apart in front of others. The box was passed around the table like a joke. You should get it appraised. Maybe it belonged to a pirate. It smells like mothballs. Does your mom always give heirlooms? Heirlooms, if only they knew. That necklace had been with me for 53 years. It stayed hidden in a velvet pouch at the back of my dresser drawer behind neatly folded handkerchiefs. I hadn't opened it since 1986, but I remembered its weight. I remembered the day I received it, the day I thought I had finally been seen. I hadn't planned to give it to Emily that day, but something inside me believed she was finally old enough to understand the meaning of something quietly passed down from mother to daughter. Instead, she saw only rust. You could have at least polished it, she said, tossing the box carelessly onto the table. I stayed silent. Later, after the cake, she pulled me aside. Her tone always changed when no one else was around. Don't bring this kind of junk into my house again, she said quietly but sharply. You embarrassed me. I stared at her. The same girl whose fever I sat beside all night. The woman whose rent I secretly paid when her husband left. The daughter I held after her miscarriage while her mother-in-law said nothing. I'm sorry, I whispered. She crossed her arms. You're always sorry, but sorry doesn't get your smell off my couch. Then her eyes hardened. You've overstayed, Mom? This house isn't yours. You think you're helping with the kids, but honestly, you just get in the way. You leave things around. You forget appointments. You talk too much when my friends are here. I'm tired. Each word hit like a pebble, not enough to destroy me, just enough to wear me down. Today was the last day, okay? This is my home, and I don't want it feeling like an old woman's nursing station. I nodded slowly. You have until Friday to move out. I'll pay for a week at a motel. After that, please don't come back. I looked past her shoulder. My granddaughter was blowing out candles while balloons floated near the ceiling. Someone uncorked champagne. Laughter drifted in from the living room. I turned back to my daughter. I wanted to ask, do you remember when you had nothing? Do you remember me working nights just to buy baby formula for your child? But I said nothing. Because when someone you gave your whole life to betrays you, the only thing left under your control is how quietly you walk away. I went upstairs and packed my things, a few sweaters, my blood pressure pills, an old photograph of my husband. The velvet pouch was gone. I didn't look for it. As I passed the living room, I heard Emily laughing. My crazy mom tried to give me some haunted necklace. The guests laughed with her. I stood there for one more second, invisible in my own daughter's house. Then I opened the front door and stepped into the cold night. The last thing I heard was her voice. This is the last birthday I let that leech near me. She's never welcome here again. And I believed her. It was the spring of 1968, and the air still smelled faintly of war. I was 24 years old, working at a tiny cafe near the edge of town. One afternoon, a quiet man in polished shoes and a pressed shirt walked in and asked for directions to the bus station. The next day, he came back. His name was Thomas. He said he was a mechanic, said he had no family left, said he liked the way I poured tea, slow and careful. 2 months later, we married in a courthouse with no guests and no cake. We rented a small room above a barber shop where shaving cream scented the walls. We were poor, but we were happy. Then came the war. For 2 years, I didn't know if Thomas was alive or dead. And when he finally returned, his eyes had changed. His hands, too. He barely spoke. We worked endlessly and saved every coin in a rusted tin hidden beneath the floorboards. Then, on our 10th anniversary, he gave me the necklace. "I sold the car," he said. "You always said green was your color." A gold chain, an emerald, the kind of jewelry women in magazines wore, the kind I never allowed myself to dream about. I only wore it on Sundays. 3 months later, he disappeared. No note, no explanation. Eventually, I saw him in another town with another woman, laughing the way he used to laugh with me. I didn't make a scene. I went home, opened the velvet box, and stared at the necklace for hours. I could have sold it. We needed money badly, but I couldn't, because it was the only proof that someone had once loved me, or at least pretended to. Years passed. Emily was born, and I raised her alone. I never told her the truth about Thomas. To her, he had died in the war. It was easier that way. I worked, saved money, taught her how to sew, read, and hold her head high. She grew into everything I never had the chance to become: strong, outspoken, confident. And I thought one day I would give her the necklace along with its story. But when I handed her the box, she saw only dust and age. She didn't know it was the last thing her father ever gave me. She didn't know it was worth $500,000. She never even asked. A few days later, I found a flyer in the motel lobby for a charity auction. Emily's name was listed among the organizers. So I went, and there it was, my necklace. The tag beside it read, "Vintage costume jewelry, starting bid $10. Costume jewelry. That phrase hurt more than Emily's laughter. I picked up the box and immediately recognized the scratch near the clasp. The engraved initials, TW. My heart tightened. The auction began. $10. 15, 40. Sold. A woman in a lavender blazer carried my necklace away in a plastic bag. Emily never even looked in my direction. I walked outside and for the first time allowed myself to cry. Not because of the money, because of the memory, because she hadn't sold a necklace. She had sold me.